we're going to approve the minutes or the agenda?
I think we're going to approve the minutes first and then the agenda. I don't know what I'm doing here.
You're doing great.
Trial by fire, man. Trial by fire.
Yeah. We need to approve the agenda, right? Or
That's right.
Item 2.
approve the agenda. So is there any discussion?
I'll to approve.
Hearing no discussion, signify by saying I approved.
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. And we need to approve the meeting summary of meeting 5.
I'll move to approve the minutes of meeting 5.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Can I have a question for a point of order? Do we all vote on that, or is it just the committee and like the alternate, like Rich and them, or are we all voting on the approval or making motions and stuff?
Should just be the members of the committee,
Right.
and Rich,
Perfect.
if he is serving as an alternate because someone is not here.
Yeah, that's perfect. I just didn't want to overuse my eyes today, you know.
Clarification.
Okay. Somebody's going to have to spoon feed me here.
That's right, Commissioner Fisher. I think we're kind of to the spot where maybe Karen and I can kind of take the reins from you give you a break for a few minutes here, and yeah, we'll just.
There you go.
Great.
Karen, do you want to jump in, or do you want me to go ahead?
Sure. I can start, and you can fill in the blanks. So the first one was just, if we haven't gotten together as this particular group since November. Obviously, I understand that Mark will be leaving us at the end of the month. And other than that, the first item here is board updates. Is there any updates that any of you have that might be relevant to our discussions today that you wanted to quickly share?
No update.
Nothing from District 21 that I know of.
Okay. How about District 4 folks?
Yeah.
Any updates for us?
I think the only update I'd like to expand on, and I will, is just that Mark, you did state that Mark won't be with us and that Mark will be leaving us. And that's a huge loss for us. Mark has really taken us to another level in many areas. But Mark will be moving out of our district, so we'll no longer be able to have him participate. I offered him to move into my house, but he wouldn't. So we will be addressing that. We have also, just for everybody's knowledge, we are running an ad. We're going to kind of follow your footprint for bringing on a new commissioner. And I've had a little bit of a chance to talk with Commissioner Ansel, get some advice from him on that as well. So we're going to move forward with that process right away. We've already actually received one applicant before we even posted it, but the posting goes out. Is that, Chris, did that go out, or is it's on the website, I believe, already?
It's on the website, and it will be posted in the Bellingham Herald tomorrow and then the following Friday. Deadline January 29th.
Yeah, very good. So I would ask if it's acceptable to ask in this meeting, I guess, if any of you commissioners know of anybody within our district area, the boundaries that you would like to maybe recommend, that'd be great. To any great candidates, good candidates that we could get to come forward would be super. So I'll leave it at that.
Just one question. When do you intend to interview the candidates?
We said we'd start by around the 28th or 29th of this month, didn't we, Chris?
That's a deadline for the applications, but I assume you would most likely interview during the month of February.
Yeah, somewhere around the first week of February, Commissioner.
So as far as the RFA planning committee goes, we will not be able to schedule our next meeting until after that position is filled. Is that correct, Karen?
Well, as long as they're at least Rich Davis's assessment was that you guys can keep going as long as District 4 is actively looking for a new commissioner. You should be good to go.
And that's exactly why we decided to get the applicant out right away. And we already do have one applicant in. So I will step up the plate and support Commissioner Fisher as the chair of anything he needs until we can. I tried to get Harry to be the coach, maybe step up to, does our district have to be the co-chair of the, and because we have Commissioner Bosman there as an alternate that might be just willing to step in with a lot of knowledge. We're not territorial anymore. It's just, we're just really hoping to do the right things here. And I give Commissioner Ansel a lot of credit for kind of helping me along in that area. So
Just simply have to sort of be aiming at 3 and 3, in terms of members from each agency.
And we'll be there real shortly for you again.
Right. And you are supposed to have a chair and a vice chair, but there's nothing that says they have to be from different agencies. So at the moment we have a chair that's leaving and a vice chair that's here, and maybe we can proceed as along these lines. If you guys would like to change out the leadership, we can do that at the next meeting. Since it's not noticed, I don't think we should do it today.
No.
We may want to go ahead and wait till you bring on board your next person. If Scott's willing to bear with us, obviously the chief and I will help you, Scott, however we can. I think that's a to be done when we have a new commissioner.
That's great. Yeah, and Mark is officially with us until January 31st anyway, so he's still officially here for you.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. So the next question was just the website, and obviously we got FAQs are posted, and the work of this committee is posted. And I'm curious, Jason or Jenny or Chris, if there have been any queries from the public about the whole RFA discussion coming into you.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's kind of interesting. It kind of dovetails into a comment that I got yesterday during the District 4 board meeting. So District 21 puts out a district newsletter, and that got posted on a community web page in the District 4 area, and that has caused some questions. I don't know I haven't been able to, I haven't been given the lead citizen's contact information yet, so I haven't been able to reach out. I can't tell if they're concerns or just, oh, hey, this is new, what's going on kind of questions.
Okay.
So that's
on your to-do list to find that person and chat with them.
Chris and I are working to get contact with that person.
Yeah, I know that lady, and she's a Facebook friend of mine also. And I spoke to her yesterday, and this afternoon around 4 o'clock, we're going to talk, and I give her some updates, where she can find information, if there's something she would like to post, if she would like to support the RFA and, kind of help out, or I have to kind of, see.
I think, and I spoke with Chief Vanderveen on this, and I also spoke, I believe, with Commissioner Ansel yesterday or the day before. Sorry, Bruce, my memory's going. But
It's okay.
We kind of looked at it as a positive. The person that posted it had answered a few questions, but the person that responded is the neighborhood, is the head of that neighborhood community, those Facebook pages or whatever they are, the neighborhood community web page, and didn't look like anything negative. Just she was surprised she hadn't heard anything about it yet. And it's actually a lady that I believe Chief Vanderveen was maybe had talked with before, but she sounds like she's kind of like the Kathy Berg, where she's very involved in your community. This lady is involved here, and I think it can really be a positive if we get her on board. So that's why we'd ask Chris to make contact with her and get her involved now that that we're starting to get to that point where it would be beneficial. Hopefully she can do us a lot of good up here. So that's why we'd ask Chris, and then Chief Vanderveen, I believe, is going to try and set up a meeting with her as well. So that's kind of the positive side that came out of that. So it's just going to happen. We're moving to that point now, I guess. So that's okay.
I think it's great that Chris and the chief would both reach out to her. I think ideally you guys would have a in-agency response to everything that's posted, and say, so excited that you're happy about this, for more information, blah, and answer their direct questions. I think that the chief should be, and maybe he needs to have Chris or Jenny or somebody help him watch for these things and maybe prepare a little draft, but then post promptly a response to folks that are out there making noises. I would recommend that if you have the capacity.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, and I don't know, just for workload issues, I would maybe ask the board's opinion on, like, Chris Parks being the contact person for District 4 questions and community stuff, funnel that through the chief, and then Jenny for District 21, so that we've kind of got a help from both sides. I know it could potentially get bigger. And then at some point I could even foresee maybe District 21 using Kathy Berg as a person to reach out to maybe District 4 questions to community advocates, since Kathy was involved in District 21 before I was. So she has been a big supporter of ours, and I think could help maybe alleviate some questions and concerns if anybody in our district or District 4 had questions. So
obviously the key thing is not to have different information coming from 4 and from 21, which is why I'm sort of thinking if Jenny and Chris can track stuff and then send up to the food chain for the confirmation of what the response would be really quickly, like within 24, that way you'll make sure you're being consistent. I'm happy to review anything if that's helpful, but that would be great.
And just another piece to this, I did reach out and hoping to get in contact with Heather Logan, who's kind of a communications consultant, which is something we're going to talk about a little bit later. But yeah, it appears that we're at that point, which is good. Where it's time to start, people are asking questions and let's get the message out. But Karen's right. We need to do it right. We need to do it one time. And, so that we look like we know what we're doing.
Karen,
I'll never know. Okay. Go ahead, Harry. Did you have a comment?
It's too early to hire a publicity person that would help with our promotions. And that would be that one person that could distribute a lot of this information to the public, which they will be asking, such as, what's going to happen to my taxes? Things like that.
There's a requirement when you form an RFA to do public outreach. And so what we're talking about, what we'll be talking about later, is that initial phase. We don't have all the answers, but we're starting this discussion. What do you as our customers think about this idea? So that's the nature of the initial outreach. Try to answer questions and be very clear that we're still putting ideas on the table and trying to figure this out ourselves. So it's the authentic public engagement as the decisions are being made. That's the phase that we're moving into now. It's not the public outreach on a final proposal for sure, as you say, Ari. That comes months from now. Okay. Anything else on website or public engagement? We'll come back to this in a little bit. But
who's managing the website?
Jenny.
Okay.
For the
I
District
take
1 side.
care of the District 4 website.
and hopefully the language, they're cross-linked so that identical information about the RFA is out there. Nothing.
It goes to one page, so it's like one. Imagine a page that sits between the two websites. So
Perfect. Anything else? Okay. Well, the next thing is there was a question at our last meeting about whether or not the rural library district's idea of increasing their levy by 10 cents would create any levy prorationing challenges for y'all. And we followed up with the assessor and with Rich Davis. And if you look in your meeting packet right behind the meeting summary, you'll see a short memo from Rich, which sort of highlights how the prorationing works. And the last page of that memo shows you what the comparable levy rates are in the two districts. You have plenty of room in either location before you come with even a rock's throw of the 590 limit. So it's sort of interesting to see how the levy rates differ between the two areas, but like it's 40 cents higher in North Whatcom than it is in District 4. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But in terms of a prorationing concern from the library, it doesn't seem to be a significant concern.
This is always, the taxing stuff has always been confusing for me back from the late 80s and early 90s when I did this before. I still have struggled with understanding the $1.50, et cetera. And there was some discussion in here about being able to protect that 25 cents. And I'm not sure I even currently understand that, but is what I'm reading is that if all heck broke loose and the library was charging whatever they were, that we could still get up to $1.25 protected. Is that what I'm reading? Yes.
That's my understanding from talking about this with Rich.
Regardless of the 590, if the RFA board passes whatever this language is that Mr. Davis sent us, the worst case scenario would be $1.25.
Yep, that's my understanding.
But with the current taxing capacities, it looks like we are way under the 590, which is surprising to me. And so that we can get to $1.50 if we had to, but that's not our current plan.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you for getting that information. I'm sure in another 10 years, I might understand it.
I know the feeling. Every time you dive back into this, you have to relearn everything because it's not a rational system. It's just very weird that the legislature has left us with this. Thanks very much, guys. But here we go. Okay, any other questions on that? All right, I'm going to go to the work plan review, which is right behind that memo we were just talking about. I've got an annotated version of our work plan. We adopted this back in September, and I just sort of marked it up to show how are we doing. And we're doing okay on the governance and process side, but we're falling behind a bit in terms of getting the financial model information compiled and presented to you, because those, as we talked about before, deciding where you want your levy to be and figuring out if you have the capacity to do the things that you think you need to do. Those are the two big challenges that require some number crunching. Chief, you guys have been buried between budgets and oil trains and everything else. So But now is the time we really have to sort of hit the pedal to the metal and get this data and get Bill Cushman back up here in front of you. So the red text on this document highlights my notes of where I think we're going, where we've been. And the yellow highlighted stuff is stuff that we haven't quite gotten to and we'll have to sort of start putting into our upcoming meetings. That's sort of where I think we are. Were there any questions or comments? I know, Chief, you are making time to work on this and finally have some.
Yes. Yep. I've
help.
got some, yeah, with help in the office, I've got some breakout time where I can focus on this, and we're through the slog of closing out the books for 2020. And yep, there will be a report at the next meeting.
Excellent. Anybody have any questions on this? And so the reminder, obviously, we have to finish our work in April to get it to the boards for deliberation and action in May. And if you're still aiming at the August ballot, the request for a ballot measure to be on the August primary has to go over to Snohomish County elections on the 14th of May. And we're going to want to do a good bit of public outreach before then.
I have one question.
Yeah.
What will be the name of the fire authority?
Well, I remember vaguely when I showed up in September that it was going to be North Whatcom Fire and Rescue.
I think it was it's actually North Whatcom Fire Regional Fire Authority.
That's what I saw too.
Yes, North Whatcom Regional Fire Authority.
So
because on the first page it
Yeah.
said North Whatcom Fire and Rescue. So
I didn't catch that till about 10 minutes before the meeting. I was digging.
North Whatcom
Yeah,
Fire-
and I'm sorry, we can certainly change that. That was my understanding from before, so I obviously had that wrong. No worries. That's why we're looking at drafts. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Anything else occur to anyone on updates now? Jason, you got anything, or
I don't think so yet.
Chris? Anything, Chris, updates at your end?
no.
Okay. So then the next thing we wanted to do was just sort of remind ourselves, I'm on agenda item 5, governance recommendations. And so what's in the packet is the 2-page summary that I prepared for y'all back in November, which I think you have shared with your boards. That's the thing that has a little table and talks about, this was the policy write-up from our discussions in the fall. And then if you flip to the very last page of your packet or scroll down, whichever you're doing, pages 9 and 10 of the draft RFA plan. This is the final document that once it's all pulled together will be what goes for your formal approval by each board in order to get this on the ballot. Pages 9 and 10 show how this governance language as it is so far will appear in the plan. And so I just wanted to see if I'll shut up now and give you guys a chance to scan pages 9 and 10 and see if you have any questions.
And looking at the election schedule and sort of our committee's thought on replacing or not replacing commissioners, would this imply then that both Commissioner Crawford and Commissioner Andrews would be, by our plan, eliminated from the RFA committee at the time of their election cycle?
The committee is different than the commissioners.
Right.
Right, so they will stay on. No, they will, the people that are up for election this fall, they will stay on. If it's after 21, if anybody drops off or resigns.
Okay, let's go one step further. If Mr. Crawford or Mr. Andrews don't run for re-election, does the new commissioner then come onto the board, or does that remain empty at that
It
point?
remains empty.
Okay.
That's now you guys can do whatever you want.
No,
But I think that's what I think is what we were talking about.
So if if they run and are reelected, they stay on. If they choose not to run or are not reelected, then we drop down that position on the RFA committee or RFA board.
Well, you're raising a good point, which makes me think we should clarify. I think, no, whoever wins in November of this year would be the whole slate of people who are in office on November as a result of the November 21 election or earlier elections would go on the board. It's just if any of you at that point forward resign and are replaced, it's those positions which are not filled unless it's necessary to maintain 5 members and 1 from each district.
Again, the question would be if it's a new face.
They stay on. They're on. If they're elected in November 21, this fall.
Okay.
If the RFA goes to if the RFA is on the ballot in August, I guess I don't have the filing dates in front of me, but would those commissioner seats for District 4 and District 21 even be on the ballot in November?
That's the question.
They would, yes, because the 2 ballots, the 2 organizations remain in effect until you guys go back to the voters to dissolve them.
Okay.
So you'll
Right.
need to,
My question for the committee would be if it's the same face, again, I can see keeping them on the RFA board, but if it's a new face, would we eliminate that position?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Because I mean, our goal was to go from 8 to 5, and
but you're going to do that anyway in 2 years.
okay, I just, for streamlining meetings,
I like where you're going with it.
I'd rather
I
have.
think it would be arguably a little bit punitive to say, okay, I'm just going to hypothetical. Harry and new person X are up for election in November. And if Harry wins, he's on the board, but new person X, he's not on the board. It just seems a little prejudicial to the election. So I would recommend that you say anybody that's been duly elected on the November 21 election, they go on the RFA board, but it's the resignations thereafter that are not refilled.
Okay, and it doesn't preclude that individual or anyone on there to resign from the RFA board regardless of holding a position in either district,
Yes, I think that's true.
as long as we stay at 5.
And 1 from each agency.
So I just wanted to throw that out for clarification for our board of the RFA.
And I think Bruce has got a great point. If Harry chooses not to run and somebody else runs, that means they're in for another 6 years. And would we be able to drop them off? I kind of hear Bruce talking now, what you're saying. Would they be able to step off the RFA board, but they're coming in as a District 4 commissioner, but do they necessarily have to be on that RFA board? With our goal is that we're trying to bring that number down, right? Karen?
Right, you're trying to bring the number down, but it's gonna be down, and you're gonna be down to 5 on January of 2024.
Okay, so
So
they don't necessarily get, just because they're a 6-year term, necessarily stay.
Mhm.
We'd
And
have
you're
somebody
gonna
else
be
drop
trying-
off. I got you.
Right, and you're gonna be trying to do votes to dissolve your districts so that there's not like piles and piles of elected officials hanging around with nothing
Absolutely,
to do.
for us anyway.
And so I'll talk to Rich about whether we should, I think we may want to clarify that this drop off thing does start after the November election results are certified this fall. And that resignation from the board is not necessarily, it doesn't mean you're resigning as a commissioner. You can be a commissioner and resign from the RFA board should you like.
Yeah, I think that would be good to clarify that in our document.
Okay, good. All right, so that's where we are on governance. And so this will be something when we do our first sort of public outreach and engagement about here's what we're thinking. We'll present this to folks and see what thoughts they have. They, you know, if they, is 5 at large a good idea? Anybody super concerned about that? And so that will be a point for public input as we move forward. All right, I'm going to move forward. Work group on the baseline and baseline plus scenarios.
Okay, so that was myself, Commissioner Chamberlain, Commissioner Ansel, and Commissioner McMurray from District 21. She's our newest commissioner. Met and discussed kind of what levels of service we're providing today, and where do we want to go, and justify those levels of service, both for internal customers as far as administration goes, and for external customers as far as the operations on the ground go. So I put a little blurb in on page 19, a small narrative. What you can, on page 20, this is our current staffing model, or what we would be proposed baseline day 1 of the RFA. So you can see the positions in there for on the admin side, everybody's status quo. There's no additions or subtractions. There's a spot for everybody. And then you see the 4 shifts at the 4 stations with three-person staffing. If you go to page 21, this is kind of the 7-year plan. It includes additions to administration as far as a support person on the admin side to do like light filing and answer phones and things. A halftime admin person, once again, for like light filing and simple tasks in both the fire marshal's office and training. The the fire marshal's division, expanding out to fire prevention and public education district-wide. Not certain whether those, especially the pub ed, would be a full-time position or not, but those are just spots that are earmarked. And the truly important piece is what we see on the operations side, which is on the bottom line there, which would be the proposed addition of battalion chiefs, 1 for each shift. And then underneath that, you see an orange box that says PTU. And that is a peak we called it a peak transport unit. So currently, if you look back at the ESCI report, it talks about out of service times and concurrent out of service times for especially the western side of the district, stations 61 and 63. And this would be our attempt to kind of stave that off. This would be, at first, we had talked about rolling it out in, like I said, peak hours, when we're seeing the most transports, probably a 12-hour car, 8 to 8, a 12-hour aid car staffed with 2 firefighters that would be responsible for transports. We'd have to look at call volumes and call flow and where we're at with the auto aid agreement with the city of Bellingham, if that's morphed or changed at all. But primarily we're looking at the north part of the district because the out of service times are so long. If station 61 in Blaine transports, they are out of service for about an hour to an hour and 20 minutes, depending on the type of the patient, the weather conditions, and if they got to get fuel on the way back, all those things. And in the interest of leaving our engine companies or our stations in service to answer those calls, having a crew to come by and transport the patient, which is something that makes us money, made sense to the subcommittee or the group. So this is the level of service that we'd like to see rolled out to the public in the next 7 years. As I said before, there's upgrades for both internal customers as far as training and fire marshal, deputy fire marshals type services, and most importantly to the public. It's an effort to really leave those companies in service and leave them available for calls and still be able to do the transports that really affect the operation fairly significantly. Is there any questions or concerns that anything I can answer straight off the bat? Yes, sir.
Having been on that committee, I think it's important to share that baseline plus is a very conservative plus. I mean, if we wanted to, be a class 1 fire district, or RFA, we would be adding all kinds of line personnel to this picture. So, we don't have a dedicated truck company. We don't do a rescue company. We don't do a lot of things that would be really nice to have in this community, especially with all of what's recently happened with the weather and storms and train derailments, et cetera. So I just want everyone to know that, I mean, if you think this is fat, I would say we erred to the side of being super conservative when we developed this model. So there's room to spend money like crazy if we wanted to, and we were very cautious about saying what's the minimum baseline plus that we think we need to have to be effective.
Would you say that, a couple questions, would you say that the baseline plus represents a increase in service levels because you have the BCs?
My personal opinion would be it's just a safety and efficiency issue. Whether it's the public is going to get a better product, yes. I think the department internally is going to get a safer and more effective workplace. Things that may have fallen through the cracks currently as far as command structure or even maintenance and discipline and just accountability would be improved having these shift supervisors that can follow all the crews. Right now we have captains, but they're assigned to one station and it's hard for them to get out and about, and to have one point person that can manage all 4 stations the same. And I always equate, when you don't have that, you basically have 4 different departments sort of managing their days, where if you have one person in control, and we've run into that obviously when we didn't have an ops chief. We've run, obviously Chief Vanderveen has had to do all of this, including his administrative tasks. And then fortunately we've added some help for him right now, but still that assistant chief has administrative duties that preclude him from going out and being sort of boots on the ground, interacting on a regular basis and going on calls and being a consistent incident manager so that everyone is working the same way. We have really good people and they tend to do a really good job, but I bet if you went out and queried each station about a certain aspect or call, there would be some slight variances in how they would approach an incident. And we need consistency, in my opinion. Sorry, Chief, I didn't mean to.
Oh, that's very well said. And I guess the best example I have is that Chief Ward and I can't operate efficiently for part of our week. Just the mere fact that we selfishly take weekends off, we start Monday 2 days behind. We're moving supplies around. We're checking accident reports. We're injury, simple injury reports. We're following up on things that happened over those 2 days that we were off. And whereas the thing is that this is a 24-hour operation. It's the firefighters are working 24 hours a day, and unfortunately after it gets dark and sometimes on the weekends, there's not that on-scene supervisor that's getting a picture of a global picture of the district. You know, we're obviously available by phone and we do what we can, but it's this would be someone that was on the clock, on scene at all times. And so to me, it does represent, like Commissioner Ansel said, a safety increase, you know, an increase in safety for both the crew and the public. And really this is where departments our size are 10 years ago, unfortunately. and so we're playing catch up.
Would this be kind of like, I'm used to the old term of a duty officer, or it's different than the battalion, a BC, or same thing? I'm not sure.
It's interchangeable language in I suppose in the volunteer world, or the combination department, small combination department. This would be an officer.
Yeah. You
know, this is someone that's moving. You know, if gosh, if a station has you know, we don't keep everything at every station. We have medical supplies at one station, and if a station and those are kept at station 63. If station 69 has a major trauma incident or a multiple casualty incident, and they burn through all of their medical supplies, they have a cabinet in the station where they restock their rig. But now that cabinet's unstocked, and you know, on a Saturday or Sunday, a BC can pick up and go get those supplies and restock that station right away, so that crew is ready for the call after to come after that.
In the bigger real world, there's actually someone that does that besides the battalion chief. So
well,
yeah,
we're talking about a conservative baseline plus.
That's right.
It definitely sounds like the direction we need to look at.
I have two more questions. And this is probably a dumb question, that the PTU, are you talking one transport unit for each station, so 8 FTEs and 4 cars, or one to be on shift throughout the district at 8 hours, at 12 hours a day?
Yep.
The latter, 12.
One for the
so it's one PTU. It's one PTU.
One
okay.
PTU for each shift. So
But it's the same people supporting each shift, or I think this org chart is confusing me then, because it looks like there are 4.
No, it would just be one per day.
Okay.
With 2 people on board though, right?
Correct.
Right.
2 firefighters.
So you're adding, so we can tweak this to show that. Just
Sure.
the 2 FTEs, show the 2 FTEs and the, yeah, just one. Okay. And then again, so when we talk about this with the community, there's one thing. Okay, you're growing. The population is growing about 1% a year, according to the estimates, but your calls have been fluctuating wildly year to year. I'm not sure if we have a good baseline on the growth rate of your response calls. So the first thing you're going to want to be able to tell people is that your service levels will be the same or better as you move forward. And then you really want to tell them if it's going to be better, how. Is response time going to get better? Arguably, with having the PTU in place, you may have capacity to respond that you don't have right now. It's really important to have the sort of in English version of what we're doing here, so we can share it with the community. What we're planning for is to keep pace with growth in service, growth in population, and the most modest way we think we can do that. It sounds like, just tell me if this is right. The most least cost-effective way we can keep pace with the growth in service and demand for service is by adding this PTU. And that should really help us keep our response times where they are now, possibly improve them. Plus, there's the internal safety, accountability, efficiency improvements that you've also identified. So it's about trying to understand if the noises that I'm making actually relate to what you're proposing here. Okay. So,
and maybe Chief, you can explain how this works. If 61's on a transport and 63 has to cover for them, and their occupied, and then 69 has to cover for, I mean, it's that never get back home thing, is that the closest unit gets dispatched, and once that first unit gets a subsequent alarm, the district is in turmoil because they're covering and covering and covering and covering and may not even get back to their station until the end of their shift, if it were a busy day.
I see that. And I think maybe the best way to do that when it gets to the public point of it is to use the actual community name for the station. So if I say if the Blaine station is on a transport, then the station from Birch Bay comes to the second call in Blaine. And then, currently the crew from Laurel or from Ferndale will come help us in Birch Bay. And that way people can equate wow, that's a 20-minute drive. They can equate, they can see in their head that the distance that we're traveling and that might help them understand.
And to be a good neighbor too, we can't just rely on Linden or Ferndale to run our calls for us. I mean, we've sort of told the citizens that we're providing that service.
We're not paying for that resource. That's somebody else's resource.
So while this, you would sort of the preferred 7-year draft is a arguably a slight increase in service levels for the community, but it should mean it's taking the steps to avoid a degradation in service over that period as the population and calls for service demand continues to grow.
Yep.
I'm just thinking that we talk about this to the average bear. Do you want to, so the next steps, we've got a staffing model here, and we can talk about whether or not you'd like to explore, well, what would be the next, and I think this might be helpful so that you have more options when they come back. What would be the next thing you add if you were going to go one step further in terms of staffing? What would you add next? And just have some sense of that. Because if this is really your baseline in terms of we need at a minimum to be able to show that we can afford this in our 7-year financial plan. This is our baseline. This is really, we're not, the level of funding and staffing today is not going to work for us for 7 years. Is that sort of what I'm hearing you say, Chief? So really the 7-year model is the baseline.
You did that well. That was a good, that was a good way of saying go back to the drawing board. Borrow that in the future.
I think you may want to, if we just know that the baseline is the 7-year model and we can't accept the current status quo, then I think so that's your baseline. Okay. And I think it would be helpful to have maybe 1 or 2 things, just like if we had funding, here's what we would do next. Just 1 or 2 things. And then obviously the other next step is what do you need and what is your plans in terms of apparatus replacement and addition? And are you thinking, what does also the master plan say about which facilities you're going to get rid of? And is that some revenue, or do you need to do some massive improvements to your 4 existing fire stations in the next 7 years? So those, I think, are the questions that the subcommittee needs to noodle through sort of quickly to have some ideas, and then we can feed that data over to Bill, and obviously this committee can talk about what works for you. So sort of a 3-dimensional funding picture, right? People, apparatus, buildings.
We will need
apparatus,
to,
equipment.
And I don't know if we want to wait for District 4s to get their 3rd commissioner, but we will need to replace Commissioner Chamberlain on that subcommittee. And it'd be good to have somebody from District 4 on there, so it's not just 21 centric.
Yes, definitely.
I'd probably be willing to sit on that with you if you wanted, Chief.
Okay.
That's up to you guys.
Nope, that'd be good.
So if you guys could come back by, hopefully we'll be meeting again in sometime in the next 3 weeks as this committee, And if we could then take this discussion about baseline, what's in that baseline in terms of things we absolutely going to need to do in terms of facilities, apparatus, and equipment to maintain service levels and have something for this new PTU to drive around in. Is that sitting somewhere in a parking lot, or are you gonna have to go buy it? Stuff like that.
I can ballpark that real quick. We need to remodel all 4 facilities and buy new engines and new tenders. And I think pretty much replace everything except our 3 new aid cars.
Well, it was kind of, I'm nervous about this because it was a really scary list in your master plan to show that, 90% of your stuff is past its useful life in terms of apparatus or something along those lines. And so getting real about, okay, how long can we really avoid buying more stuff, and what is that stuff going to cost us? We need to have a ballpark, your best thoughts. This is not something obviously I can do for you, but just based on all your knowledge and experience, what's going to be the apparatus replacement schedule? What are the, do you really just need 4 roofs, or is there a bigger remodel project that you can realistically think you're going to absolutely need to do? And then, so there's going to be the need to have and the nice to have, and just try to sort things out between those 2 buckets and bring it back for the gang to say, yep, that should be in the need to have, and no, that's a nice to have. And so we're trying to aim at a sort of a consensus from you guys about what's in the need to have baseline scenario and what might be in the nice to have based on the recommendations of the committee. So that's that. So is that doable, Chief? I know you are buried, but.
Oh, actually, we have, Chief Ward and I have a meeting on the 25th with a tender guy. We've already been batting around some numbers for tenders. And so, nope, we're actually, finally, I'm ahead of the curve on something.
Yay!
Yep.
Like that.
So, and we'll
New year.
we'll set up, we'll get a Zoom meeting with Commissioner Hanson, Commissioner Ansel, myself, and Commissioner McMurray, and get back to the drawing board. So
Awesome.
thanks for your feedback.
Well, I think that's really the key data that obviously, and sort of, is it year 1, year 3, if you have a strong sense of the time over the next 7 years, when this stuff would be layered in. Obviously, it's not all going to appear on day 2, poof. But and that will help Bill be able to model your levy needs, obviously. Not saying anything you don't know, so I'll shut up. Okay. Any other comments on this one? We'll keep coming back to this. This is the hardest work here, to figure out what you guys are going to need in the next 7 years and what that's going to cost, and what does that mean for your initial levy start rate, and how you talk to the public about how frequently you're going to need to go back to get levy lid lifts. Okay, that's all I got on that. The last couple items here on our agenda, people are hanging in there. We're at 11, almost 11 here. The RFA plan, we take a quick look at that draft document, and then we want to talk a little bit more about that initial phase of public outreach and starting to move on that. So the RFA plan is back, we've talked about the last couple pages of it already. You'll see it there right after the org charts.
Can we take a quick 5-minute break? We've been at it for an hour.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's a really good idea. Everybody take a 5-minute break.
So, okay, well, yeah, just take a 5-minute break, and we'll meet back
Thank you.
at 3 after.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Two sunny days in a row. Looks
It's
like you
so
have
nice.
sun down there as well.
It's gorgeous out here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go escape
Yeah.
for the lunch hour.
There you
A
go.
little walk. Yeah. The last 2 days were really grim. That storm,
Yes, it was wet.
it was super wet. Had a transformer blow out on the street over in the middle of the night. That sort of lit up the sky.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Is that Jenny by any chance?
What's
Never
that?
seen Jenny. Is that Jenny in the background on Scott's screen?
Yeah.
she's gone.
No, that's Kelly.
That's Kelly. I just haven't ever met either of them.
That's Kelly. Jenny's over here, but she can.
Jenny.
Karen's never seen you.
Oh,
Hi, Jenny. Hi. Thank you for all your help.
Oh, you're very welcome.
So
Good to put a face with a name. Thank you.
that's Jenny the rock star.
Jenny, the rock star. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to be depressed about the weather, the gentleman sitting just above you, Karen, on my screen, has
Yeah,
Mr.
Bruce. Yeah.
Mr. Ansel.
Scofflaw.
How's the weather in Arizona today? I
Oh,
noticed.
sorry, I was outside. My glasses went dark.
I was going to say I see your glasses tinted, so.
I think
Yeah,
it's
well,
only going to be in the low 70s today.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Before COVID, I was supposed to be in Mexico this weekend last, but
I hear
that's
that.
not happening.
Well, if it's any consolation, the COVID rate in Arizona is the highest in the world, and they figure 1 in 10 people down here have it.
Oh my goodness.
So I
That's
am,
really,
I am sheltering in place or camping in the desert, one or the other.
I'm ready for this COVID thing to be in the rearview mirror. This has been a slog, and it's getting scarier, not less scary, which I don't appreciate. So,
Yeah, it sounds
let's
like Whatcom County's numbers shot up drastically here.
Yes. Doubled and tripled in some areas.
Okay, it looks like everybody's just about back. Well, Chris is not quite back, but do you guys want to reconvene? Scott?
There she is.
There's Chris. Good.
Yes, I think Commissioner Hanson, you're there, correct?
I'm good.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So now we're going to look at what's at starting at page 22 of your packet, and just scan what's here. And if you had some thoughts or questions, I can try to answer them. This is sort of the first 5 of the 8 sections of the plan in an initial draft, so you can start seeing what it looks like. So we start on page 23, or page 2 of the plan. It's the first section on background and needs, sort of why we're doing this. And so this is sort of a text is intentionally written, since this document gets approved before the thing goes to the ballot. So it's before you go into the ballot, you're saying, this is why we're putting this forward on the ballot, and we intend to create this RFA if the voters approve.
And that, Karen, is something that both district boards approve prior to it going to the ballot.
Right. When this plan document is completed, this is what both boards will be asked to separately approve in exactly identical form in early May. Exactly.
Thank you.
So this is our work product as a team, is putting this plan together. And you'll see there at the bottom, something you'll see, interestingly, I still find this fascinating, that every single section of this plan can be amended by a majority vote of the RFA board, unless you choose something different, more strict. Okay. So that's section 1, pretty straightforward, but just sort of makes out the case for why we're having this discussion. Section 2 is just super exciting. It's definitions. And this is where I will make the change in section 1.11. Actually, that's correct. I'll change it elsewhere. It is the North Whatcom Regional Fire Authority. That's what you guys have decided you want to call this? Okay, so that's correct. And I'll just make sure we start matching everything else there. And again, you can add or change any of these definitions. You'll see that the county-wide EMS levy is in here and the District 4 EMS levy is in here. So pretty boring stuff, but just trying to get done what we can as quickly as possible here. Section 3 of the plan is pretty, basically just confirms your statutory authorization for doing this, and that you have noting that you've taken all the steps, you will be taking all the steps to approve this plan, and the 2 districts will remain as they are now today. You'll just be districts until they're dissolved, but stating your intent to dissolve expeditiously after the RFA is created. And if the RFA is created, all the service responsibilities of the 2 districts transfer to the RFA. So the only thing the 2 districts will be doing after that is electing boards of commissioners to serve on the RFA or not, depending on how things go. You'll basically have one election in 21, and then the 23 election, which is the very next election in 2023, that will be the election for the 5 at-large commissioners. Okay, so again, there's not really deathly prose or anything. It's just sort of the basic stuff that has to go in the plan. Section 4 on page 7 is the jurisdictional boundaries, and it talks about, I don't think you have any, well, no, it talks about what happens if somebody tries to annex you lose the territory, but you can annex away as well, and you can merge. So it just sort of lays out and informs people of this fact going into this. And then pages 9 and 10 is the governance piece that we've discussed previously. So this is the easy part of the plan. The governance part was a hard part. You guys got through that with flying colors. The other parts that I've presented here today are pretty straightforward. The hard parts that we have yet to do are funding and finance and operations and services and the org structure, but we're closing in on the org structure for sure. So thanks to the work of the subcommittee. And then if you go back to the very beginning, page 22 of the packet, you can see the list of all the sections. So we've just talked about sections 1 through 5. And you can see there the list of the appendices, which we can also start working on this spring. There will be the org chart that you guys settle on for the starting org chart, which is authorized. And you may not necessarily need to fill in all the positions, but just sort of say, this is it. And you could color code it to show these are the positions we intend to fill in the next 2, 3, 4 years. You'll have a list of your real property and a list of the vehicles and apparatus to be transferred to the RFA. So those exhibits have yet to be developed. It'll be all the stations and such, and all the tenders and fire trucks.
And that work has pretty much been done already by the master plan, right? I mean, it's kind of almost a cut and paste.
It's not a big, I think you guys are in really good shape for most of this plan. Really, it's the thing we haven't figured out yet is how many people and stuff do we want to have and expenditures to repair things do we want to be planning on, and how much is that going to cost us, and where do we want to start the levy? So that's really the work ahead. Okay. That is all I had to say on that, unless there are any questions. And then I think that just gets us to the idea of, in mid to late February, our work plan said we'll have our first initial sort of an open house for any interested members of the public to come in an online format to sort of learn a little bit more about what you're talking about and why, and have an opportunity to answer questions that they may have. And to help us put this together as sort of from a sort of public communications standpoint, it was my recommendation that you try to find a public communications consultant that could spend a few hours making sure that what we're doing is going to be understandable and hopefully well received. And we'd use the online technology that District 4 has been holding meetings on so far, unless we want to do something different. So, Chief, you've talked to Heather. Do you want to?
We started emailing, so
Okay.
I'm going to have a phone conversation with her today, and get something set up so I can get some good questions from her and start getting her some answers and figure out how we move forward.
Mm-hmm. So it's basically going to be a team effort between, the existing folks that run your online meetings and staff, and then Heather and the chief and you guys deciding, agreeing on what sort of what you want, how you want the presentation to look, and we can to the public and to get ready for the types of questions that you're likely to receive, and so not to sort of be stumped by the first question that comes across the transom. Just do some work so you're ready to go and put your best foot forward when we go out there. And I think we just are sort of, I think, looking for a quick thumbs up that we should proceed, and then we can come back and give you our initial thoughts on how we would recommend this, sort of how the agenda and materials and content, and start working on that over the next few weeks. And we'd have to pick a date and get it noticed as well. So if you guys are still on board with the idea of doing some kind of a online open house in mid to late February, we should get a thumbs up from you on that. And then the chief and I and everybody can start working on it. Are there any questions about what we're talking about or ideas about what would make it work better from your perspective?
Can you get rid of COVID before this happens?
That'd be nice. Yeah. I mean, everybody's been having to do these weird little online things now for a while. And that's one of the reasons why staying on top of any emails and online postings is so important, because it's the only avenue people have now. So it's being really communicative with the public, and the rare instances they show up. Anybody else, ideas or concerns? This would typically not be this. The chief would probably be the main spokesperson at this. You guys could be there and be introduced. That would be probably fine and great. But in terms of the spokesperson, it will probably be the chief on this, so that he's the face of the two districts, and everybody wants to talk to the fire chief. That's a big deal. So it's always good to put him out front.
You haven't
And
teenagers.
Yeah.
They're not impressed.
you'll be great.
Will we have virtual cake and punch?
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, free hot dogs. Yeah, it's a challenge to get people. I mean, we may have absolutely no one show up. We may have 2 people show up. We may have 50. It's just really hard to know. I have not seen really full online things around these types of issues in the last year, but that's a pretty short time frame too. So so that's, if are folks okay with us proceeding on that, or anybody have concerns, or just like a little thumbs up, we'll proceed, and we'll come back with something for you guys to think about. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Dave. Bruce, yes.
Saw a big smile there. Is that a yes? At least a smirk out of Commissioner Crawford. So I think there we go. Commissioner Hanson, you good?
Right. Yep. You okay, Harry? If we move ahead on this? Awesome, thank you. All right, anybody have any advice or questions about this before we move off to do whatever it is we're gonna do? All right. The next agenda date and time, we don't have one. I'm guessing it may take us 2 meetings to finalize the outreach. So if we were aiming and doing the outreach in the last week of February, we might want to try to get together at least in the first week of February and conceivably on the week of the 15th. So meet the first and third weeks of February sometime.
Yeah, let me flip to my calendar here.
So that would be 3 weeks out, which would give the subcommittee time to work on the apparatus, facilities, staffing stuff a little bit more, and will give us time to really try to pull something together around the outreach.
Karen, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When we first started this program, we were discussing hiring an expert for publicity or promotion and so forth. Has there been any more thought on that? A professional?
Yes, so what we're talking about now is bringing on a professional communications person just for this initial outreach stage. And then there will be another communications consultant that will do the whole public education associated with the ballot.
Okay, thank you.
And that person will probably want to be starting to talk about bringing on in March so that they can get up to speed and hit the ground running. It's a really short campaign period, right?
Right.
From May to the very beginning of August. Okay, yeah, good question. Anybody else?
I think that first week in February, will that work for most?
Yes.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Yeah, yeah, I have a 9 a.m. on Thursdays, but I think if we start that's usually over in an hour, so I can do a 10 on Thursday if we want to keep this particular time.
Okay.
And let's try to calendar in 2 meetings if we
I was
could.
gonna suggest that, and then the 25th would be 2 weeks later in February.
Could we do it the 18th so that we have that last week of February for outreach?
We could do it the 19th. The 18th is District 21 board day, and if I do that, Jenny and
Oh, all hell will break loose. Yeah, that's really annoying. Okay.
Case you saw today won't happen anymore. So we could do the 19th, which is
That will work for me. Will that work for you, gentlemen? Friday, the 19th of February in the morning?
Good for me.
That's fine.
Thank you, Dave.
Good for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Well, then the chief will get those 2 meeting invites out, and then we'll try to be planning around the open house in the last week of February in the evening, probably, like I'm guessing 5 to 7. We'll see what the comms person would suggest.
Okay.
And we'll go from there. So just to wander out of this meeting, we just have a chance for closing comments from everybody. I'll start, maybe I'll just roll call folks. John, do you have anything you want to share with the gang?
No, just happy to be a part and rolling along.
Thanks for participating here today. Appreciate that. Chief Ward, I haven't met you yet. Welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad you were there to give Jason a hand. Oh my gosh. Dave, anything?
I have nothing, just really appreciate what everybody's been doing and all the time they're putting into this. It's great.
Awesome. Chris? Okay.
Oh, thank you. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Harry?
No, nothing here.
All right. Rich, anything? Thanks for being our loyal additional. Appreciate that. Bruce, in the sunshine.
My glasses have adjusted back again. Now I can see.
You again. You're no longer a man of mystery. We know who you are.
Yeah. No, I'm just excited for District 4 to move forward with selecting a new board member, and look forward to our financial planning meeting, I guess. Jason, are we thinking about trying to get together what were your thoughts on a date for that?
Sooner rather than later, probably the last week in, not probably, during the last week of January would be I would suggest the 26th, the Tuesday. Would that be a good day for you both? Commissioner
I'm
Hanson?
gonna probably be getting on the road here one of these days, but you know, I can always find a Wi-Fi spot somewhere.
When are you planning on being back up here?
I'm not sure. I'm still trying to coordinate a last doctor visit for my dad, and then I did get my truck back. Thank you. So I do have wheels now. So, but I don't know. With the way COVID's going, I kind of want to get out of Arizona, and but then I'd land in Whatcom County. So I don't know.
I'll shoot some dates to you and Commissioner Hanson. Either I was thinking the 26th, 27th, 28th would be my recommendation.
I'll try to figure out a travel schedule here and see what's going on. But yeah, I mean, I'll make it work one way or another, if whatever fits in. I mean, I have a pretty good idea of where we need to be anyway without having the meeting, but most of that was already identified in the master plan. So it's not like we're
not
reinventing anything.
Okay, good. Chief, anything?
No, thank you all for being here, and yeah, I'm looking forward to 2021 getting this thing closer to wrapped up. So
Closer to wrapped, yeah. And I'll turn it back over to the chair, Mr. Fisher. Commissioner Fisher, you can take us out of here. You need to unmute though. Yep, still muted.
Still on mute.
Lower left. Yeah,
There we go.
Can you hear me now? Thank you, everybody, for attending the meeting and get us one step closer. And I'd like to get a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.